Have you launched your membership and then a few months down the line found yourself regretting your choice of software or technology that you're using to run your website? Or maybe you haven't yet launched, but you live in fear of that turning out to be your reality, and that's stopping you from making the right choice with your membership plugin or platform. Today, episode 276 of the Membership Guys podcast, I'm going to talk about how you can switch membership platform after you've already launched.
You're listening to the Membership Guys podcast, bringing you proven, practical tips and advice from the leading experts on growing a successful membership business each and every week. And now, here's your host, Mike Morrison.
All right, if you've gone through the process of researching your membership plugin or membership platform, then you'll know how stressful it can be. The stakes are actually fairly high because once your membership is already up and running, it can be quite tricky to then switch out to a completely different solution for the membership tech. Once you've got those subscriptions in place, that makes it harder to switch. And so we see a lot of people, a lot of anxiety over the decision for membership plugins and platforms because they're worried about, well, if I make the wrong choice and then decide I want to switch in 6 months' time, am I going to be stuck? So I want to address that situation. If you found yourself in that place, even after you've done all your research, all your due diligence, and you've shopped around all the different plugins, you've used our membership plugin comparison chart, you've chosen your membership tool, you were happy with it, but things have changed. You're now 6 months, 12 months, a couple of years down the line, and you need to change platform. What do? First of all, you want to make sure that you're not making this decision lightly. This isn't something that you do on a whim or you do because loads of people are talking about this new tool and it sounds really, really cool, and maybe you're just a bit bored of the one that you've got. This isn't a small decision. The ramifications of completely changing your tech setup can be huge, and we're going to get into some of those in a moment. Now, sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes, depending on your current setup, depending on how you're billing people, depending on what's going on under the hood, then moving from one platform to another can actually be painless. But in most cases, you're rocking the boat quite a bit. There's going to be some upheaval. So the first thing to do if you are considering changing is really, really question the value of switching. If your current tech setup is actually causing problems, like it's malfunctioning all the time, it's costing you members, either it's crashing all the time, there's errors, those kind of things are good reasons for changing. Shiny object syndrome is not a good reason for changing. And we see a lot of people, unfortunately, who are looking to switch elsewhere because they feel the grass is greener, or everyone they know, all the people they follow, all the influencers are writing these amazing glowing reviews about how this new software is the best thing since sliced bread. And, you know, they're getting affiliate commission for doing that. Come on, let's be honest. But that's their motivation. It is pure shiny object syndrome. And there's no real reason to leave their current platform, their current plugin. It's doing everything they need to, but they're just having their head turned by the new kid on the block. That's not a good reason to go. So first thing, if you're looking to change, really, really, really question how essential is it that you're changing. It might just be that your business model has evolved, it's changed, and now your current setup simply doesn't meet your needs, and you're not going to be able to progress your business unless you change your technology. Again, that's a valid reason. Your favorite podcaster saying that this new system blows all the other ones out the water, that's not a valid reason. So that's first tip. Make sure you're not making this decision lightly. Second thing you want to do is explore what options exist for migrating data from your current setup to the one you want to move to. It's always good to speak to the people you're moving to, not the ones you're moving from. The people you're moving away from, well, they're obviously going to want to keep you, right? They've got a vested interest in you continuing to use their platform or continuing to pay a license for their plugin. So they're probably not going to be as forthcoming with details about how you can switch from one to the other. Now, depending on what you're currently using, be prepared to find out that you might not actually be able to migrate your data. Some plugins, you simply cannot migrate the data, and that just means essentially taking what's in one database and just seamlessly importing it into another. Some tech setups just don't allow that, or the way in which the databases are structured from the old compared to the new are just incompatible. And so you might find out when you speak to the different parties that there just is no way of migrating the data. Now, for your content, that's not a deal breaker, because as much of a pain in the butt as it's going to be, simply copying your content from your old place to your new place isn't going to be that hard. And if you're using a membership plugin on WordPress, the content is 9 times out of 10, actually 9.99 times out of 10, totally separate to the membership plugin. So changing the plugin doesn't change anything to do with the content. But the data that is harder to migrate and that is more impactful is your subscription data. Quite often what will happen is if someone signs up to your membership via your current platform or your current plugin, then some of the data relating to that subscription that is stored with your payment provider as well as in your database will be very unique to how that plugin or that system works. And therefore, if you move to a different system that doesn't work in the same way, there'll be some mismatch of information, or you simply won't be able to continue the connection between your payment provider and your website. So that's an attempt to simplify what can be a complex thing, but it basically just kind of means, if a subscription is set up in one way, you can't always assume that the same method, the same way in which your site and your payment provider talk to each other can be mirrored in another system. And that can cause problems, because that might mean that there's no way to ensure that people who are paying their subscriptions will continue to be granted the right level of access to your site after you've switched. Or it might mean that actually they'll need to cancel their subscription on your old system and create a new one on your new system, which again is going to be a problem. All right, so that's the second thing to do. Discuss options for migrating data. Now, you speak to both parties, but first people you should speak to will be the people you're moving to. They'll have more experience and more willingness with getting people from one place into their platform, into their plugin. And again, some of these services will possibly even offer a migration service because they want it to be as easy as possible for you to switch to them, because obviously they're then getting your custom. So that's your second thing to do. Third thing to do, test the new system thoroughly before you make any permanent changes to your business. So set up a test website that only you can access. Maybe you set up some dummy accounts. You put it through its paces to ensure it does everything you need it to do, to ensure that certain features that you have on one thing can be replicated in another, or if they can't, you have an idea of how you might address it, or that the problems that you feel you have with your old system are actually addressed in the new one. Again, you want to do a proper, thorough test run. You're almost beta testing a new membership here, because you don't want to discover after the fact that, you've jumped out of the frying pan into the fire. So make sure that you are testing thoroughly. Set up a dummy website. Try doing everything on that site that you would want your members to do. Try adding content. Make sure that you're happy with the admin side of things, that it's easy for you to use, it's easy for your members to use, it's easy for your team to use. So that's your third thing. Make sure you're doing essentially a beta test internally of that new system before you make the decision. So don't start switching everything over and then run a couple of tests and think, oh, actually, no, I'm starting to regret this. Test it all first before you do anything, before you even tell your members this is happening. And this is the fourth tip, communication. Be transparent. You can't go wrong with being transparent with your members. If you made the decision that you're going to move, you've really found out what migrating from one system to another will involve, what the repercussions are, what steps people will need to take, whether they'll need to cancel their subscription and then re-sign up. Get all that information and then communicate to your members. Let them know well in advance, so don't just drop this on them last minute. We're switching to a new system next week. You're going to have to cancel your subscription, so Cancel them today, sign up to the new thing, and if you don't do that, then tough. Give them plenty of notice. And when you're communicating these changes to your members, you want to make sure you're addressing the question that's going to be in their mind. What's in it for me? So focus on how your new system, how your new membership environment is going to benefit them. It might be simple as, pointing out, hey, we know that this is frustrating. We know that a lot of you have experienced problems with this, or, the website's been going down a lot recently. And so to solve this, we are moving. So again, you're addressing what is a negative about the current setup for your members and highlighting how the new solution is a positive. You're making it about them, answering what is in it for me. Tip 5, as part of this communication, is to set a timeline. Set a clear timeline. Again, you don't want to be dropping this in people's lap at the last minute, because you're then depending on them prioritizing whatever it is you need them to do as part of this process, and that simply won't happen. You want to set out a clear, realistic timeline. You have fixed dates, and so if you do need your members to register at a different location, to cancel their subscription and then re-sign up, you're setting deadlines. You can give them a date. Okay, you're going to have to do X, Y, and Z. You'll be able to do this from this date, and we'll need everybody to have completed that switch by this specific date. So you're giving a clear window, you're giving them plenty of time. And then maybe if you've got a situation where you're going from a WordPress website that you're running onto something like Kajabi, and maybe that'll mean you're going to close down completely the old WordPress website, then again, as part of that timeline, it might be, okay, you'll be able to register on the Kajabi site from the 1st of June. We'll need everybody signed over and switched over by the 30th of June. And then we're going to be removing the old website completely from the servers by the end of July, right? So you set those set deadlines and you craft your communication, your messaging around that. Now, if you do require your members to play an active part in this, if you're not able to just migrate all of their data over, you require them to either sign up on a new website, to confirm or verify their details, to create a new subscription, make sure that you provide clear, idiot-proof instructions for switching. So screenshots, video screencasts where you actually walk people click by click through what they need to do. Don't assume that you can just give people a link and say, go to this link, cancel your account, and then you want to go to this link and sign up. Literally record the process of doing it so there's no room for doubt. There's no potential extra questions or anything like that. And there's no excuses that someone didn't know how to do something. Again, it's all about clarity. It's all about making it as simple, as no-brainer, and as easy for people to take part in this migration as possible. So that's the 6th tip. Next tip, if you are requiring people to take action to sign up, create new subscriptions, you're going to want to incentivize them. You're going to want to give them some sort of motivation. So the motivation, the incentive, which will usually be some sort of bonus, some sort of potentially a discount or something like that, it's going to be commensurate with what you're actually asking them to do. If you're just setting them up, if you're migrating all their information and literally all they'll need to do is click on a link to confirm their email address in order to comply with the new system's data protection, that's not a big ask, right? That's not a huge ask. And so maybe you just kind of have almost a token bonus for all the new people on the site just to thank them for having patience while you made the switch. However, if you are requiring someone to cancel their subscription on your current site, to then go and register on a new website elsewhere and create a brand new subscription, then that's at the other end of the spectrum, right? You're going to want a greater incentive, not just to motivate people to actually take time out of their day to do that, but also to avoid potential billing issues, because this is something people don't think about. Let's say you do need people to cancel their old subscription and start a new one, and maybe your membership charges people monthly. Now, if I'm paying you $50 a month, perhaps my payment came out on the 1st of June, but you need me to go and switch to the new website on the 15th of June. That's the cutoff. That's the deadline. When I go over there and I start a new subscription, I'm going to have to pay that $50 again. So the $50 I paid, at the beginning of June on your old site that should have given me a month, I've only had half of that time. And then I've had to start paying you $50 again with a new billing date at the middle of the month. So I've kind of been screwed there, right? So the easiest way to avoid those headaches, and you will get those headaches if you are requiring people to cancel and then restart subscriptions on your new membership platform, the easiest way is to give everyone an initial free month. Simple as. Yes, there'll be some people who end up essentially getting an entire month for free, right? But it's worth it if it balances out with the people who would otherwise get screwed over, because you've essentially asked them to pay twice within the space of a month. You know, let's say your cutoff date is the 15th, someone's payment recurs on the 14th, they've just paid you double for that month. And there's no justification in the world for them having done that. So the simplest way, if you are at that end of the spectrum in terms of the upheaval and what you're asking your members to do and the impact on existing subscriptions, give everyone an initial month for free. It incentivizes people to make the switch. It motivates people to actually stick with you rather than just canceling. We're going to talk about this in a sec. But more importantly, it avoids the plethora of headaches you are opening yourself up to if people start questioning, well, hang on, my subscription payment was last month, and if I go and sign up on this new site like you're saying, I'm going to have to pay again. Going to have to think about your annual members along the same lines. Again, if you're offering an annual membership and I paid you last month for a full year and you're telling me to go and start a new subscription for another year today, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that at all. So you need to think about how you'll handle that, whether you'll manually comp people the time remaining on their subscription, which should, in a lot of cases, be easier to do because most of the time your proportion of annual subscribers will be smaller than your monthly ones. But you're going to have to think about this sort of stuff. And then the final tip, the final thing to keep in mind when you're changing your membership platform is to prepare yourself for the possibility and the likelihood that you will lose members if you are asking them to change their billing details or their subscription details, or even just to register a new account on a different site. There will be people at all times in all memberships, there will be a percentage of your member base who are only there because of inertia. So that just means that they're only there because they keep forgetting to cancel their subscription, or they've not had a prompt that's reminded them to cancel it. They're just there. And the day will eventually come where they're looking and say, you know what? I keep paying for this. I keep meaning to log in. It's not happened, so I'm going to cut my losses and leave. Every membership will have those people, no matter how hard you try to ensure that you're engaging everyone and you're giving people a reason to log in. There'll always be at least one person who is an inertia member. They are just there because they haven't yet got around to cancelling. Something like this gives them the reason to cancel, or the reason to just not sign up on the new site, to not create the new subscription. It actually makes it easy for them because you're saying, hey, everyone's got to be over by this date. Anyone who's not, your subscription will be cancelled. The website will be closed down. Oh, cool. I don't even need to worry about logging into the site and cancelling. They're going to do it for me. It's going to happen. So you need to prepare yourself for that inevitability, and that is just part of the price of making this sort of switch. Now you can try to counteract that with promos, with bonuses, with new stuff, and by framing this as an opportunity for someone who's maybe been lapsing, maybe not been logging in, being inactive, to actually get back involved. But even with all of that, you're going to lose some members. The only way that you get around that is if you are able to 100% migrate their data. So there's literally no difference for them between your old platform and your new one in terms of their ability to log in terms of their subscription still being seamless and all that sort of stuff. Now, that's more likely to happen with something like WordPress and a membership plugin than it is if you're switching from Kajabi to Kartra or Kartra to Simplero or something like that. But that's not always going to be the case. Anyway, hopefully that's given you a little food for thought if you found yourself in this situation where you're seriously contemplating switching to a new plugin or a new platform. And if you haven't yet launched your membership, hopefully this just underpins the importance of making the right decision for the right reasons. Doing your research, using the resources we provide at themembershipguys.com/plugins in order to help you find the right solution for you. Because if you get it wrong and then 2 or 3 months down the line you need to switch, all this stuff we've just talked about is going to be on your to-do list. And so you want to avoid that if at all possible. That is it from me for this week. Thanks so much for tuning into the show. If you've enjoyed it, if you found it useful, then I love reading your reviews. So make sure you hit that 5 stars and leave some kind words about how much you enjoy the podcast or how it's helped you. Not only does that help let us know we're doing a good job, it also helps us to reach other people and make more of a difference in their lives, in their memberships, in their business. So that is it from me. I am out of here. I'll be back again next week with another installment of the Membership Guys podcast.